Despite India's remarkable journey to becoming the world's fourth largest economy and growing faster than most developed nations, despite the incredible success stories of Indian unicorns and tech giants, there's an important challenge we need to address today: create meaningful employment opportunities for our talented youth. Now imagine a young engineer from IIT, India's premier institute, graduating with dreams of changing the world, only to discover that 1 out of every 3 of his classmates, including himself, might not have a good job. This isn't a hypothetical scenario. This is happening right now. What I'm about to share with you today will help you think strategically about India's evolving job market, your career trajectory, and how to prepare for the future. But before we begin, let me ask you something very important. How are you preparing yourself for the rapidly changing job landscape for the next 5 years? Now, if you hesitated even for a second, then every word of this video is for you. But today, we are not just discussing employment statistics. We are exploring how India can transform this challenge into its greatest opportunity. In the next few minutes, we will discuss the phenomena of rising unemployment amongst youth. Then we talk about the 3 forces replacing job opportunities faster than we can create them. And then we'll talk about the complete solution framework that could transform India from a job-seeking nation to a job-creating powerhouse. And the exact roadmap every individual must follow to become unemployment-proof in the age of AI and automation. And we are not just going to talk about problems. We are going to give you actionable solutions that you can implement starting today. So, अगर आप ready हैं to discover how to secure your future in this growing and sometimes uncertain economy, let's get into this video. Now let me share a story that perfectly illustrates the changing nature of our job market. Meet Arjun from Delhi, a 24-year-old computer science graduate from a respected college. Now he represents the new generation of India, educated, skilled, tech-savvy and ambitious. However, like many of his peers, he's been navigating a highly competitive job market for 18 months, constantly upskilling and adapting to find the right opportunity. Now Arjun's experience reflects a broader trend across the country. The demand for stable, quality employment has intensified significantly. Now, in Haryana, for instance, a government job posting for a sweeper position attracted over 46,000 postgraduate and about 6,000 graduates, along with 1.2 lakh candidates who had completed education up to class 12. Now, scenes like this are common. In many states, single job posting routinely draw thousands of applications, leading to chaotic recruitment drives that sometimes have to be suspended due to the overwhelming response. Now, the desperation for stable employment is so intense that highly qualified individuals, including those with BTech or MTech degrees, are willing to apply for low-skilled, low-paying government jobs simply for the security they offer. Now, even graduates from India's most prestigious institutions are not immune. At IIT Bombay, one of the country's top technical universities, 36% of students who registered for campus placements in 2024 did not secure a job. Across all 23 IITs, about 38% of 2024 graduates remain unplaced, the highest in 3 years, with the number of unplaced students doubling since 2022. Now, while the average salary package at IIT Bombay rose, the number of placements declined, and the lowest package dropped to 4 lakh per annum, down from 6 lakhs the previous year. Now, the key question we should be asking isn't why this is happening, but rather, how can we channel this incredible talent and ambition into creating a thriving economy that works for everyone? The answer lies in understanding that this challenge is actually India's greatest opportunity for transformation. But how? Okay, let's talk about 3 forces of destruction. What's really killing jobs in India? So here's the moment of truth that will either prepare you for what's coming or leave you completely vulnerable to forces you have never seen coming. The first force is what many call the demographic tsunami. So India is now the most populous country with over 1.4 billion people. About 65% of our population is between 15 and 59 years old, and median age is just 28. Now this means we have world's largest working age population, which is a huge opportunity if we can use it well. By 2028, India's workforce is expected to grow to about 458 million people, up from 424 million. Now every year, 7 to 8 million young people are entering the job market. Imagine adding a country of the size of Switzerland to India's workforce every year. If India can create enough jobs, this could drive massive economic growth, higher savings and more spending. But here's the reality, job creation is not keeping up. For every job opening today, there are already hundreds of applications. If this trend continues, by 2028, we could see thousands of people competing for a single job, leading to even more frustration and unemployment among young people. Now, the second force is our education system, which is struggling to keep pace with what the job market actually needs. Now, while millions of students graduate every year, only about 42.6% of them are considered employable by current industry standards, according to the India Graduate Skills Index 2025. This is actually a drop from the previous year also. Now, the main problem is that many colleges, especially in core engineering fields like mechanical, civil, are still teaching outdated concepts and using old equipment. For example, some students are still learning from old machines from 1980s, even though modern factories use automated machines. Now, this gap between what is taught and what employees need means many graduates have degrees but not the right skills. As a result, young people end up running from office to office with their certificates, but they don't have what employers are looking for. Third and most disruptive force is the rapid change in technology. Artificial intelligence and automation are already transforming industries at a speed that most workers and even the education system can't match. More than 1 lakh tech jobs have been lost in 2025 so far, with major players like Microsoft, Intel, Google making deep cuts amid cost pressure, restructuring, and AI-driven transformation. Companies are adopting AI and automation not just to save cost, but because machines can do some tasks much faster and more accurately than humans. While AI is expected to create about 2.7 million new tech jobs in India by 2028, these roles require advanced skills that most graduates simply don't have. Now, at the same time, many traditional jobs are disappearing, and the education system is still preparing students for jobs that may not exist in 5 years from now. So the real question isn't whether AI or automation will replace human jobs. They already are. The important thing is whether you are preparing for a job that a machine can do better. If you are, you're not preparing for employment. You are preparing for unemployment. Now, how do we transform this crisis into opportunity? So now we understood the problem. Let's talk about the solution that could transform India from a job-seeking nation to a job-creating powerhouse. Now, the solution begins with completely revolutionizing our education system. Until we make our education system more skill-focused, we won't be able to make people employable. Now, a person can only work when they are capable of working. The good news is that the government understands this, and many industry-relevant experts also understand this. That's why programs in Skill India are being launched to achieve these objectives. Now, in recent years, skill enhancement platforms have also emerged, whose long-term impact you will see in our economy. But we need to go much further. Every education institution should have mandatory industry partnership. Students should spend at least 50% of their time working on real-world projects with actual companies. Theoretical knowledge without practical application is worthless in today's job market. Now, the second pillar of the solution is strengthening our MSME industries. Now, these medium and small-scale industries are labor-intensive industries. If there are more requirement in these industries, they will be able to provide employment to most people. Moreover, this is an industrial sector where technological advancements doesn't come very quickly like an IT sector. So people can sustain here even with lower skills. But we need to support MSMEs with better access to capital, technology, and market. The government should create special economic zones dedicated to MSME development, provide tax incentives for companies that hire locally, and establish direct connection between MSME and larger corporation for supply chain integration. Some things are also working on these lines also. Now, the third pillar focuses on creating an ecosystem for entrepreneurship and innovation. Now, instead of just producing job seekers, we need to produce job creators. This means establishing incubation centers in every district, providing easy access to startup funding, simplifying business integration process, and creating mentorship networks that connect young entrepreneurs with experienced business leaders. Now, parallel to these changes, the government and private institutes should focus on bringing more skill advancement programs and promoting degrees and courses that empower people rather than just providing certificates. Very important. Now, we need to incentivize continuous learning and make skill development a lifelong journey rather than something that ends with graduation. And here's something more. Above all these institutional changes, we need a cultural shift. People who are part of today's Indian workforce need to understand the market dynamics change very rapidly. If you don't keep yourself upgraded, you will be out of the market from day one. Everyone needs to keep improving themselves, regardless of whether they are currently employed or not. They need to continuously understand that they have to keep sharpening their skills so that no technological shift becomes the reason for their unemployment. Now, from job seekers to value creators, how can we do this? Now, according to Times of India report, there's an interesting shift happening in rural India. Rural youth are no longer willing to migrate to cities for jobs. But why? because they believe they can do something better while staying in their own location. The growing startup culture is motivating people to think, never settle for less. And during the time period when they don't have any work, they get counted in the unemployment population. Now, this isn't necessarily bad. Entrepreneurial thinking is crucial for every economy. But it creates a complex dynamic where traditional employment statistics don't tell the complete story. So many young people reject available jobs thinking they will start their own business. But without proper preparation, they end up neither employed nor successfully self-employed. But here's where the mindset shift becomes powerful. The individuals who will thrive in coming decades are those who understand that job security no longer comes from having a job. It comes from being able to create value that others are willing to pay for. Let me say that again. Being able to create value that others are willing to pay for. Now, the old model was simple, right? Get educated, find a job, work for 40 years, retire with a pension. That model is dead. The new model requires you to think like an entrepreneur. Even if you are an employee, you need to constantly ask yourself, what problems can I solve? What value can I create? How can I make myself indispensable? This shift in thinking is what separates those who will be replaced by AI from those who will use AI to amplify their capabilities. Machines can execute tasks, but they cannot identify opportunities, build relationships, or create innovative solutions to complex human problems. Now, the most successful professionals in the next decade will be those who combine technical skills with uniquely human capabilities, like creativity, emotional intelligence, complex problem solving, and ability to adapt to constant change. They won't just be employees or entrepreneurs. They'll be value creators who understand that their security comes from their ability to generate results, not from their job title or company affiliation. This mindset revolution is already happening amongst the most successful young Indians. They're not asking, how do I get a job? They're asking, how do I create so much value that opportunities chase me instead of me chasing opportunities? And that is where you have to be there. But this optimism brings challenges, of course. Many aspiring entrepreneurs underestimate the difficulties of starting and sustaining a business. Access to capital, mentorship, and markets is still limited in many rural areas. Without the right preparation, training, and resilience, dreams can quickly turn into disappointment. And I believe this is where government and private sector initiatives become crucial. Providing not just funding, but also education in business basics, digital skills, and financial. The most exciting aspect of this shift is the rise of value creator mindset. Now, whether you are a coder, a craftsman, or community organizer, your real security comes from your ability to solve problems and create value that others recognize and reward. Now, this mindset is inherently entrepreneurial, but it's also deeply collaborative. The most successful people will be those who can network, partner, and co-create, leveraging both technology and human relationships. Now, in the coming decade, India's growth story will be written not just in cities, but its villages and small towns by young people who refuse to settle for less, who see opportunity everywhere and who are willing to learn, adapt, and persist. The question for every young Indian is no longer where can I get a job, but how can I make myself so valuable that the world comes to me? That's the real revolution, and it's only just begun. Now, becoming unemployment proof in the AI age, how can you do that? So, in a nutshell, the harsh reality is that you cannot wait for the government to solve this crisis or for companies to create more jobs. In today's rapidly changing economy, your employment security depends entirely on your personal preparedness and adaptability. The individuals who will thrive in the coming decades are those who take proactive steps today to future-proof their careers. Now, the first phase of your personal transformation must focus on conducting a brutally honest assessment of where you stand in the current job market or your career. Most people live in the denial about their actual skill level and market relevance. So, you need to spend the first 30 days conducting a comprehensive skills audit. This means comparing your current abilities against what employers are actually seeking, identify the specific gaps that are making you unemployable, and researching which skills will be in highest demand in your industry over the next 5 years. Now, this isn't just about technical skills. You need to evaluate your communication abilities, problem-solving capabilities, and adaptability to change. Now, once you have a clear picture of your current position, the next 60 days should be dedicated to intensive skill building and market positioning. Now, this isn't about getting another degree or certificate that looks good on paper, but adds no real value. Instead, focus on acquiring practical, immediately applicable skills that solve real-world problems. So, enroll in industry-relevant certification programs that are recognized by employers in your field. Start building a portfolio that demonstrates your new capabilities through actual projects and results. Begin creating a personal brand that showcases your unique value proposition to potential employers or clients. Then comes the final phase of your transformation that requires developing multiple backup plans and income streams. Now, the days of relying on a single employer for your entire career are over. You need to develop both employment and self-employment options simultaneously. Your money should work 24/7. So this means applying strategic job searching techniques while also exploring freelancing or entrepreneurship opportunities. Create a systematic approach to networking with industry professionals and building relationships that could lead to opportunities. Now, most importantly, commit to making continuous learning a lifelong habit rather than something you do only when you're desperate for the job. But beyond individual skill development, you need to think strategically about positioning yourself in sectors that are likely to grow despite technological disruption. Healthcare, elderly care, education, renewable energy, sustainable agriculture are areas where human expertise will remain crucial. So consider how your skills can be applied in these growing sectors rather than competing in declining industries. Now, the key principle underlying all of this is simple but powerful. In today's economy, your job security depends on your learning agility, not your current position. The moment you stop growing and adapting is the moment you become obsolete. Companies will always choose someone who can solve tomorrow's problems over someone who's stuck with yesterday's solution. Your goal isn't just to find a job, it's to become the kind of professional that companies compete to hire and retain. By 2030, artificial intelligence will have eliminated approximately 40% of current job categories. But there's opportunity. It will also create entirely new job categories that don't exist today. The key is not to fight technology, but to learn how to work alongside it. Yes, think about it. Don't fight it. Learn how to work alongside this. So people, countries that adapt fastest to this new reality will dominate the global economy. Countries that resist change will face massive unemployment and social unrest. So let me leave you with this thought. We are sitting on a demographic dividend that could either make us the world's most powerful economy or the world's largest unemployment crisis. The choice isn't up to the government alone. It's up to every single person watching this video. You can either be a part of this problem, waiting for someone else to create jobs, or you can be the part of the solution, creating value that generates employment. The question isn't whether unemployment is challenged in India. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Your future and India's future will be determined by how you answer this question. Understanding the problem is the first step towards solving it, but understanding without action is just entertainment. So if this video opened your eyes to do better and to become better, then hit that like button to help this message reach out to more people who want to hear this. Plus subscribe, hit the notification bell because we are going to continue analyzing the biggest challenges in India's job market and providing actionable solutions for you. Also share it with someone who may need it. Third, and this is the most important one, tell me in the comments, what dimensions of unemployment do you think we haven't covered? What topics do you want us to analyze next? And I read every comment, and your suggestion shape our future content.